Swami wants me to live in a glass house, so people will know, okay, if this is a role model, then okay, what does he eat, what does he do, how do you become a success, how do you practice spirituality? The young adults, for youngsters who want to take to spirituality, they need that. They need hardcore proof. They're not no more interested in people who give good talks and speeches. They look at you, I wonder what he does at home. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. I thought about Swami the same way. I wonder what he does upstairs. When Baba says, practice saying to yourself, I am God, I am God. One gentleman told Swami, I keep chanting Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. Swami said, be careful, that should not give you ego. Who's the Aham who's saying this, he asked. Who's the I who's saying this? You? You can never become Brahman. You are the body. The Brahman is inside you. And then he said, are you listening to it or are you chanting it? Listen to the chant inside you. That means I have to listen to the voice, the higher self telling me I am Brahman, not me as Sundar. The whole concept of this is to empower you. The one who's actually doing this is the higher cosmic intelligence is the one that guides me into what I'm doing. And therefore, I feel more empowered.
Sai Baba's lesson to Sundar of recognizing true self-identity.
This time he was sitting so close to me, and I said, Swami, may I be an instrument of thy peace. Where there is doubt, may I sow faith. Where there is darkness, may I sow.
On the face of it, such an innocent request, but the lessons from Baba to Sundar about this request, most challenging to absorb.
I got up to look at Swami, and Swami made this fantastic statement.
Baba's statement was intended to bring enlightenment to all who listened. Sundar pointedly spoke to Sai Baba about a principal teaching of St. Francis of Assisi, about being an instrument of peace. And over 3 occasions covering a long period of time, Sai Baba took this teaching to its highest level. Welcome to Souljourns. This interview was recorded in Idlewild, California on May 27, 2018.
Open your home. I mean, words fail me when I try to describe that moment in a speech or in a conversation. But in my heart, I know how I felt at those moments, because as a young boy, as I said this before as well, I was more intrigued by the fact that how austere his life was, how simple his life was, and how does one maintain sanity by living in a room without windows and stone walls and no paintings on the wall, with little 2 incandescent bulbs and a little fan. And here he was, moments when he was all alone and nobody was there. Either they had not yet come or he had refused audience. There were many days where he just wanted to be alone. And those are the moments he would be reading letters, but you will know that even though he's glancing at the letters, he's in some other plane totally. And then he'll pause and close his eyes and drop his head back and keep staring at the lights in front of him. And that's it. Then you know he's somewhere else. He was totally, it was not that he was sad or pensive mood. It's not like that. Not like how we sit to think something. It wasn't like that. It was a state of, go back to a state of being. You use the right word, being. Just being God. Just being God. And that could have, and you could do that only in silence. I mean, when Baba says, among men I'm a man, among women I'm a woman, among children I'm a child, alone I'm God. I saw him those moments when he was alone. It was fascinating. I would be lying if I say I didn't grow, because after Swami passing away, I've given up my job, as you know, and I'm full-time into spreading Swami's mission.
By choice?
And by choice, of course, yes. Because of the dream I had, just as he was passing away. It was so, and I didn't have the courage to share it at the time you interviewed me when Swami passed away, because I was still processing so many things, and there was so much happening at that time. But what happened was about 2 weeks before Swami passing away, we had all the students and we were talking, going back and forth, and Maya had connections in the hospital who were giving her updates on Swami's health, and so we were very, very concerned about Swami's health at that time. And in my heart, I knew that this was something serious, because a Swami I knew would never go to a hospital or never even succumb to something where he can't go and give darshan. Because I've seen Swami very sick and still going out for darshan, because he says, no, I can't miss darshan, as if that was what he's come for. And so when we heard he's in the hospital, I knew there was something I couldn't be able to comprehend. And as we were going back and forth with information, it was not good. And I was concerned, and I was thinking, my gosh, what is Swami up to? Where is this all leading? And at that point, I had this very powerful dream. I call it a dream. It's so close to being a vision. And I'm used to Swami's dreams a lot, even to this day. But there are some of them which turn to be very powerful, very more vision-like, so much so that you wake up knowing that this is much more than a regular dream. And so in this particular dream, it was the one and only dream I've ever had until so far, where I've seen Swami in a wheelchair. Because I've never seen Swami in a wheelchair. So in my subconscious mind, that image is not there at all. I don't like to see his pictures on a wheelchair. I just don't like that picture. For some reason, I feel my guru is young and active, and that's how I want to see him. That's how I visualized him. And so I showed him the picture of Swami for my Gurukulam in a lotus pose, sitting in meditation. That's a picture I like of Swami. That's my Swami for me. Anyway, but that dream, it was so strange. He was on a wheelchair, and he's leaning on one side, and he was drooling, and he had a kerchief he was trying to clean, and he was trying to clean his mouth or wipe his mouth. It was very sad, and I was kneeling up, and because he was trying to tell me something, and I leaned close to him. He leans forward with great difficulty, and he indicates, I can't speak. He's saying like this, I can't speak anymore in Telugu. Can you speak for me? And I immediately start sobbing, and I said, what do I speak, Swami? What do I speak? He just like this, wait, listen to me fully kind of a thing. He stopped me. He said, he points to his feet, I can't walk anymore. Can you walk for me? And that at that point I started crying, and I said, Swami, what do I speak? Where do I go? What do I do? He said, Cheptanu, means I'll tell you. And then he touched my forehead again with his, I say again because physically he had done that. So he touched my forehead. And at that moment, I was immediately filled with so much energy and light. And I woke up completely drenched in sweat. And the whole room, my bedroom, seemed to be filled with light. I knew it was something very, very, very profound. But at that point, we talked about the knowing at the retreat here. There was a knowing that this was it. Swami is not coming back in the physical form. But he has asked me to do some work at some level. And I couldn't process that information because it was such a big information. And until then, I've been going to retreats, and I wanted to teach yoga. I wanted to do all the spiritual things. And it was like part-time, because my logical mind, my finance background said, hey, you got to also pay the bills. So keep doing this and that way But then I'm talking to people about selfless service. It's easy to talk, and my life and my speeches were not matching. I don't know. But anyway, there was the time came when, after Swami said that, Maya and I had a lot of discussions, and I said, Maya, I can't turn my back to this call. This call is a very different call. Maybe I need to do this full time. I just need to get into Swami's mission, travel as much as I can, speak about his message, and share that information, because this is what I think he wants me to do. And so, lo and behold, Maya is like, without a shrug, she said, if that's what you want to do, you should do it. If not now, when? And if you have to start life all over in a gas station someday, we will do that. I mean, how does it matter? The older you go, it's going to be more difficult for you to make such decisions. And so it still took us 6 months to process that information. For me, it was just, I have to do it always. We have to be sincere from the heart when we do something. I don't want to do something and regret, especially in God's work. But in those 6 months, I was so clear in my knowing that this is the purpose, and this is what Swami wants me to do. And therefore, that birthday of Swami, I took the decision, and I went and met my manager and said, I'm quitting. He said, how much can I increase your pay? I don't want you to go Sunder. I won't get another Sunder. And I said, no, I'm quitting this career. I'm going to teach yoga. You should have seen the surprise on his face. Do you make this much money in yoga? I said, no, not a bit. He said, then why? I said, that's my passion. He said, then I guess no money can match yours. If you're chasing a dream, I can't stop you. And so
at that time you were at the Cleveland Clinic.
I left Cleveland Clinic. I was with another relocation company in a much better job and a much better position. And so it was a call which I couldn't refuse. And so I said, all right, Swami, let me take this decision and let me go into it. And so 7 years down the line, I'm still...
No looking back?
No looking back at all. Absolutely no regret.
No regrets.
My heart is in the right place, and I find so much peace that there is God with me now even more than ever. Swami comes and guides me even more than ever. It's a miracle, and that's why, you know, when I say you take one step and it takes 1,000 steps, it's so very, very true. All that one step I had to take was make up my mind to say, okay, I am full time now in this mission of spreading the teachings of Swami, the teachings of yoga, the teachings of Sanatana Dharma. This is what I want to do. And it's all on Swami's principles. As you know, I don't charge any money to anything. It's all absolutely free. If people want to contribute to my classes, they come and contribute. But that's because Swami said, let your hand never be like this. Never be like this.
Hold it up a little bit.
Let your hand never be like this. It should always be giving, never receiving. Never turn your education into a begging bowl. And so the greatest education we had with Swami was the highest wisdom. How can I turn that and put a price tag to it? And so there was a time when he was calling us and teaching, in preparing us to be teachers in his university. And that was a time, it was very sweet of Swami. He called us and he said, the 3-4 of us, and he said, you're going to be lecturers in my institute, but I want you to understand something. I may not be able to, at this point, I may not be able to pay you full salary, because Swami was, the money was, it was never like, people think Swami had a lot of money and therefore he did this project. He didn't. Any project he started with was only with a divine vision, and money came in later. So even college was struggling to run on an everyday basis. When I say struggling, it was just, everything just met exactly. There was not surplus funds for them to splurge on expensive equipments, even to this day. At that point, Swami said, I may not be able to pay you the university grants, scale and commission, but once in a while I'll give you an envelope with some money. Is that okay? That was the purity of which Swami approached. And I said, we were like in tears. We said, Swami, you don't even have to tell us that. And then Swami said, I am so happy. My boys are like this. I don't want you to teach for money. And then he gave a beautiful story. Can I share the story? I think we have
absolutely
time.
Yes.
So the story he mentioned, and which never left me, and that's why I could never, with all my finance background, and you know better than anyone else, that I tried different models to make work.
Sure.
Because I wanted it to be coming. Finally, if nothing works, I know that this is from the heart, and I don't want to at some point think that I didn't try this math or this path, or So this story, he said, was a very rich diamond merchant is walking down a village, and he's seeing a young boy playing marbles in the sand and dirt, and then this boy is playing with precious stones and diamonds, and this jeweler says, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't know the value of what he's doing. And so he stops this village boy and says, listen, I give you 100 rupees, can you give me all this little marbles you're playing with? And the boy jumps in joy because he has never seen 100 rupees in his lifetime. So Swami says this boy gladly accepted the 100 rupees and gave all the diamonds into this jeweler's hands. And he said, as soon as the jeweler receives the diamonds breaks into thousands of pieces and disappears. And this merchant is shocked, and he prays and he says, God, what is this? And so the Devi, he says, the goddess of these diamonds appeared to him. And he says, why did you do this? The goddess said, you knew my value, and yet you paid $100. You insulted me, and therefore I don't belong to you anymore. He said, yes, I insulted you, I beg for forgiveness, but look at this boy, he was insulting you all the time. He was playing with you on the dirt, there was cow dung and dirt, and you didn't feel insulted then. And then the Devi says, that boy was ignorant. He didn't know they were diamonds. He thought they were marbles, and he was playing, he was innocent. He didn't know my value. You who know the value, when you insulted me, I don't exist anymore. And so Swami said, if you know the value of what you teach, if you know the value of spirituality, how can you put a price tag to it? So if I say my classes are worth $50 or $100 or $500 or 200 rupees, whatever it is, I'm insulting that knowledge right there, because in my heart I know they are priceless. How can I take a priceless wisdom and say this is worth this much? It doesn't make sense in practical world at all, but yet it makes complete sense in my heart. And therefore, this is how it's going to be.
And I can see that you're very excited about it. In fact, your energy could lift you off the floor right now, which is ironic, and it's one of the things I want to talk about, because you just finished a 3-day marathon. I think it was 7 or 8 talks you gave. You were the only speaker. You had no notes. This morning you talked for 3 hours straight. You gave 3 talks today that ended just 20 minutes ago. half an hour ago, and you still have energy to burn after being here these 3 days. Where does it come from, as if I didn't know, and how do you keep it replenished, as if I didn't know? But I'd like to hear it from you.
It's a Swami. When I think of Swami, when I speak of Swami, when I speak about these spiritual topics, it's as if I truly feel this is what I'm meant to do, and therefore I feel connections of lifetimes that back me up. I feel all the ancestors and rishis are saying, yes, now we'll support you. I somehow feel like so right, in the right place at the right moment. And so I feel so energized. You know, when you do the right thing and you know it's the right thing, you don't get tired so easily. But with Swami, it's very different. I can go for hours talking about him, and it's almost like he gives the flow, and I am unable to keep up to the level of thoughts that keeps pouring through me. And so it's entirely Swami. He fills me with that energy, and I feel so spiritually high at the end of it all, and so charged, but very humbled and very grateful at the same time that, oh my gosh, going back to the story of I am being an instrument of Swami, and this is exactly how it's meant to be. So that's why I can go on, and of course I do get tired. When I go home and I hit the sack, it'd be like,
I'm sure if I had
8 hours.
5 hours or 8 hours of video here, you could easily plow through it. If you wanted to talk to the 400 or 500 people who are here, and they heard your several hundred stories, many first person in Baba's presence, I think you might get 400 different answers as to which one might be their favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite, hands down, and it might surprise you, I don't think you'd ever guess what it is,
Okay.
that I'd like to ask you about, is you observing in a silent room called Baba's room at night, when you were his attendant, his divinity sitting there in his majesty in total silence, where you knew in your heart, if there was ever any doubt, any skepticism, it was removed by watching him just being.
Just being. Absolutely. I mean, words fail me when I try to describe that moment in a speech or in a conversation, but in my heart I know how I felt at those moments, because as a young boy, as I said this before as well, I was more intrigued by the fact that how austere his life was, how simple his life was, and how does one maintain sanity by living in a room without windows and stone walls and no paintings on the wall, with little 2 incandescent bulbs and a little fan, and here he was, moments when he was all alone and nobody was there. Either they had not yet come or he had refused audience. There were many days where he just wanted to be alone. And those are the moments he would be reading letters, but you will know that even though he's glancing at the letters, he's in some other plane totally. And then he'll pause and close his eyes and drop his head back and keep staring at the lights in front of him. And that's it. Then you know he's somewhere else. He was totally, it was not that he was sad or pensive mood. It's not like that. Not like how we sit to think something. It wasn't like that. It was a state of, go back to a state of being. You use the right word, being. Just being God. Just being God. And that could have, and you could do that only in silence. I mean, when Baba says, among men I'm a man, among women I'm a woman, among children I'm a child, alone I'm God. I saw him those moments when he was alone. It was fascinating.
I'm so glad you talked about that.
Thank you.
Not that there are skeptics and doubters, although there could be. This is just something that enhances everybody's understanding of the mystery of Sai Baba. He's called an enigma for a reason. Who dares to say they understand him?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And people ask me, did he meditate? Does he pray? Does he close his eyes? What does he do? How do I even explain it? He was just sitting.
Does he like lemonade? Does he read the newspaper?
Yes. But he, when he was lost in himself, that himself was so grand. I mean, that energy that I could feel, that silence I could feel. And sometimes we were grateful that we were sitting down and just pressing his feet as he was doing that. And we would be afraid that even our pressing his calf muscles and his feet might disturb the state that he was in. But then he'll suddenly snap out of it and say, aren't you eating food? Do it more harder. And so, okay, he's here. And so we go back to our work. And again, he'll be like, he'll do something and just go into a whole different...
Yeah.
It wasn't thinking. I know he wasn't thinking. because thinking is very different. You can make out a person as deep in thought. This was a very, that's why I said words fail me to explain how that the eyes would still be glowing, but then there was a complete disconnect with everything around him. So it was a very fascinating experience.
It's been years, as I said at the outset, since we've had a chance to hear many of your stories, your formative years, about not coming from a Baba family, not having any interest in Baba or awareness really of who the Majesty of Sai Baba turned out to be. And you shared intimate stories about being that close to him in his room, serving him, going through schools, having him help you choose which direction to go in. But here this weekend, I think I've probably heard 50 new stories from those years that I don't remember.
I thought you knew all my stories.
Do you have any one or two favorites? And I know that's a very unfair question.
Well, yes, all are my favorites. But then there is this story which I shared today, and once again it touched something very deep inside me. The I am instrument story, and make me an instrument of thy peace. I've been sharing it of late. So I can share that one because there are so many lessons to it, as how Baba trained us over a span of not just one discourse or one conversation or one interview, but this lesson was taught to me over a decade, literally. It started off very early, and then it took a whole decade for me to come to where he wanted me to be. And so it's very fascinating now that I can put pieces together. But as I was going through it, I didn't realize how profound, how big this thing was. This transformation that he wanted me to have, the transformation that he wanted to cause in me. So this started when I was in Baba's room, and we would take his mail and everything and get rid of it every time, tear them and whatever he's left over and put them, trash them, check them if there was any currency and things like that. So that was a regular thing. One day, during the daytime once, when Swami was sitting and reading, I was in his room. He got up and took a break. He probably wanted to go to the restroom or something. So he got up and went in, and I took a chance to clean up his sofa. So as I was doing that, I noticed a huge card, a birthday, like a greeting card. And so I was like, oh my gosh, let me take that. And as I picked it up, there was a picture of Saint Francis of Assisi and some nice artistic drawing, and it attracted my attention. I'm not supposed to look at any of this. We had never looked, but this was so intriguing. I just gently wanted to see before I tear it. My heart, always was crying when I tore those beautiful greeting cards because they were a rarity those days. And so when I opened it, to my amazement, very quickly I saw this beautiful first two lines that caught my attention. It said, "Make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. From this moment on, let me not seek to be consoled as I would seek out to console. Let me not seek to be pardoned as I would seek out to pardon. Let me not seek to receive as much as I would seek out to give. For it is in giving that I receive. For it is in loving that I am loved. For it is in dying that I am born to eternal life." But I read it pretty quick. But what caught me was the first few lines. I still didn't understand the impact of the whole thing, so the power and the beauty of that poem. But the 4 lines was beautiful, and I said, oh my gosh, this is something I want to be, because by then I had become a huge admirer of Swami. I was falling in love with him, literally, if you will, because I saw him living such a simple life inside. I was straight away impressed. I said, oh my gosh, Swami, people should know about this. Why don't they know how he lives inside, versus he portrays royalty outside, but inside he's absolutely simple, and he's so austere in what he wants to do. He's all the time focused on his mission. And so I was a big admirer, and I always said, and I had started a deep desire, was building up, that I want to be part of this in some form. I want to be with him. I want to work with him. I want to help him in some way. That was my initial, as a young boy, ready to jump into action. If we like something, we want to be there doing it. And so this prayer, when I said, make me an instrument of thy peace, I said, oh, that should be my thought. That should be my prayer. But then all of this was in less than 2 minutes, right? And then to my shock, as I had this open, I had the dreadful, I knew Swami caught me opening his mail. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that, because we're not supposed to do this. And so I just froze. I was so frightened. I said, oh God, he's going to... I looked up, And he was standing there. He saw the fear in my face, I'm sure, because I was terrified. I just looked up and he said, he did like this. So I said, Swami. I was like, I didn't read anything. There was nothing personal in that card anyway.
Yeah.
It was just a poem. And so he came and sat, he did like this. And then he let me clear everything. I went and I disappeared from Swami. I wanted to run away to be safe. And a week or two later, it could have been a month later, I don't know at this point. It's some time later. So Swami called me again to clear stuff. And so when I was clearing his stuff, he said, wait a minute. And he reached behind some box and he picked up a huge shopping bag kind of a thing, a plastic bag. It was filled with greeting cards. He just gave it to me. I thought he's giving it to me to get, throw away. And so I picked it up and I turned. He said, hey, listen, that's for you. You like all these cards, no? Keep it. And I was so thrilled and touched that Swami did this for me. So he had actually kept it aside. Okay, this foolish fellow wants to.
You thought about that for a long time.
Yes, I was very touched. So I had them all collected, and many years later, I cut the poems and everything, and I put my pictures with Swami and made a beautiful album. Fortunately it's safe, and Swami signed it much later with love and blessings. Fully, he signed it on. I think it was in 1990, many years later. But then. It's a story, that's one side of the story, right? But the main story is here. So that prayer, make me an instrument of thy peace, stayed with me. And every day from then on, I started saying that in my heart. So as a few years passed by, my speaking talent or whatever was discovered, and so I started speaking in hostel college, and then I spoke in front of Swami in the college, I think that was the first time. And then Swami started calling me up to speak in the Purnachandra auditorium in front of all these other people. So when I was called to speak for Dasara, I thought, you know what, I'm going to use that prayer. And I can actually say that to Swami directly, make me an instrument of that peace. So I was thrilled. And so after my speech, I just looked at him with my palms folded. I said, Swami, make me an instrument of thy peace. And I said the whole prayer. And then I went and touched his feet, and Swami was very happy. Swami said, good. And the next day he came and he said, good prayer. How did my boy speak? Very good. And he came to me and said, good prayer. And the moment he said good prayer, he said good speech and all that, but he said good prayer. I said, that's it. I mean, Swami likes this prayer. I like the prayer. So it's a perfect match. Mm-hmm. So I kept that as my mantra. Make me an instrument. And every time I would go into that, read it would make me emotional, and I would think, this is exactly what I wanted to be. Just use me, Swami, use me. Make whatever you want, I'm available. And so that went on in my blood and in my subconscious mind, if you will, for some years. And in about mid-80s, I got among other chances, I got one more chance to speak. Now there's a number of years after I had chanted this for the first time in front of Swami, this prayer. And so when I got this chance to speak again, this time I thought, I haven't said that prayer as my ending. I always like to end a talk with a song or a sloka. Everybody does that, I think, with a small poem, kind of end your talk. So I thought I haven't done that for a while, so maybe I should do this, say this prayer again. And so because Swami had said good prayer, so I knew he would like it, so there was no doubt about it. And so I spoke and I said this prayer again, make me an instrument of thy peace. I enjoyed saying it to Swami. When I think of that, I feel so honored and humbled at the same time, but it's like you're looking literally at the physical presence of your Sadguru, your God, and you're telling him the prayer. So it's not to a picture or a statue. And so I said this prayer, and the speech ended and the function ended. And the next day morning, Swami asked the elders, how did this boy speak? And they said, Swami, very good. He came to me, he said, who are you to order me? I was like, what? I didn't get it. I didn't connect everything, right? I said, Swami, who are you to order me? Make me a cup of tea, make me coffee, make me instrument. Who are you to order me? I couldn't tell him that was what was printed, that's actual prayer and all that. I was like, oh my gosh, it's about the prayer. But I just kept looking at him, and he said, why didn't you say, may I sit down? May I help you? Adugtava leda means, don't you ask like that when it's out of manners, out of politeness? And he looked at some elderly devotees. No, that is correct. No, was make me, may I? And Swami acts it, he becomes a child. And so all those people said, yes, Swami, that's much better. And then Swami looks at me. And Swami looks at me, may I, Cheppu? May I? And then I was happy he was not very angry or something, but he gave me a beautiful thought. When I went back and I said, may I be an instrument of thy peace, it gave me a very reverential attitude automatically. And I said, oh my God, this is why Swami wanted me to say, may I be an instrument, may I so love. It was like seeking permission and being humble that may I be used, please use me, kind of a thing, So there was a very reverential attitude that developed within me to be an instrument and yet be humble at the same time. And therefore, that became my mantra. And I was so happy that Swami actually encouraged me and changed it for me. And so I kept on saying that for years on end. And then towards the 1989-90, when Swami took us to Kodaikanal, there was a 45 days of every day you have to speak in front of Swami. And so we were running out of content. But like I said, it wasn't 3-4 hours at a stretch. It was 20 minutes or 25 minutes, short talks. But still, it was in front of Swami. You had to be very, very mindful of what you speak. He's just right there sitting next to you. You dare not say something just to be smart or act cheeky, because he can flick you off. We have seen that by then, right? So I said, okay, I got this prayer now. I know how to say it correctly. May I? So I can't go wrong this time. So this was after so many years. That's why I said it was in early 81 or something. I got this first prayer, and then it was modified to may I. And then towards the end of that decade, I was saying may I, may I. And so in that speech in Kodaikanal, I gave a short speech and I looked at Swami once again. This time he was sitting so close to me. And I said, Swami, may I be an instrument of thy peace. Where there is doubt, may I sow faith. Where there is darkness, may I sow light. With all humility and sincerity from my heart, I said this prayer. And Swami looked at me, and I came down. I touched his feet. Swami patted my back, and I was getting the pat. I said, okay, thank God this may I thing worked. When you're very sure of that, he makes you feel everything is fine. And I got up to look at Swami, and Swami made this fantastic statement. He said, let me say that in Telugu first, because it was so beautiful when he said that in Telugu. He said, Inka entasepura may I, beggar laga may I cheptavu. I'm sorry.
We got half of that.
I'm sorry. So he said, still how many years like a beggar you're going to say may I? And everybody started laughing, and I was like, oh my gosh, didn't you tell me? I was thinking about this. And I just looked at Swami, now this is wrong, where do I go with this? And then beautifully Swami said, when are you going to say, I am an instrument, eppudu cheptavu? There was a firmness in his voice, like a coach. He said, I am ani eppudu cheptavu? I am an instrument of thy peace, cheppu. Enti may I am an instrument. Where there is doubt, I will sow faith. Atla cheppu. And that gave me shivers, And therefore, from that day, I am an instrument of thy peace. Where there is doubt, I sow faith. Where there is darkness, I share light. And that has changed my whole. I'm not waiting to become an instrument. I'm not waiting to be called to do work. I am it already. Get into action. Swami, that's why he gave us the most powerful mantra. Start saying, I am God. I am God. I am not different from God. He could have said, pray, may I become God, or please do. He said, no, you don't have time for that. Because when we wait, we keep waiting forever. We attend satsangs and retreats, and then we say, someday we'll become God. That someday is never going to come. Start saying right now, and then that slowly becomes a reality. So from the day I started saying I am an instrument, I began to feel, yes, I am already. I'm part of his mission. What am I waiting for? And that encouraged me, gave me the strength, gave me the courage to represent Swami, to speak about him without any fear. I'm an instrument. Let his thoughts flow through me. Let his teachings flow through my heart. And I just want to be an instrument. So that's exactly how that story is. And so that's one of a very powerful story. But it's very close to my heart, because that is what I am right now. In a manner, I am proud. But I'm proud because he's using me. I'm not an instrument for somebody else. It's for Sai. And I'm proud because he's using me to speak his teachings, to share his teachings, to help people walk the path he has laid out for all of us. And with the help of his teachings, I'm able to bring yoga and whatever path I practice in his presence, I'm able to share that. Help people regain faith back in the traditional values of Sanatana Dharma, of Vedanta, of the deeper teachings of the ancient rishis and sages from a civilization that said the purpose of life is to discover your inner reality. And with that discovery, go out and live the world. So first do that step.
Sunder, talk a little bit more about I am. It's very difficult for many people I know, even the staunchest Sai devotees, to say that. I'm not sure if it's a feeling of unworthiness. I am God, I am God, I am no different than God. It's very, very difficult because it seems to be an enormous leap that many of us aren't ready to make. And certainly people in other faiths, systems, or religions.
That's blasphemy for them.
It's blasphemy. You're a heretic if you say that. And that spills over into Western culture today. So say just a little more to put people at ease when thinking about themselves the way Baba instructs people to think about themselves.
When Baba says, practice saying to yourself, I am God, I am God, this is not the religious God that we configure in our mind, that is conjecture, that is out there, and therefore that is who I am. Actually, I'm the one who's creating. Everybody is going to serve me or look down upon me. The I am God principles comes from the very essence of Vedanta, the essence of Hinduism as it was when it was called Sanatana Dharma. And therefore, that says that every one of us is a spark of the divine. And therefore, within us lies the same God principle that created this universe. There is oneness in this consciousness. That's why in yoga, the highest state of yoga experience is kaivalya, is oneness. Everything is finally just one. Kaivalya means kevala, just one. That one consciousness has manifested itself into everything. And therefore, if that consciousness is in me, who am I? Not me as Sunder. I as Sunder will always be Sunder, but I as the conscious am God. That's why Jesus died and Christ was born. So the little I gets crucified, the bigger I begins to speak, I am God, I am God, I am not different from God. In fact, in connection with that, when we were in a small group, Swami said, one gentleman told Swami, I keep chanting Aham Brahmasmi, because Swami spoke about Advaita and everything is you. And he said, Swami, yes Swami, I start saying Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. Swami said, be careful, that should not give you ego. Who's the Aham who's saying this, he asked. Who's the I who's saying this? You? You can never become Brahman. You are the body. The Brahman is inside you. And then he said, are you listening to it or are you chanting it? Listen to it, don't say it. Listen to the chant inside you. That means I have to listen to the voice, the higher self telling me I am Brahman, not me as Sundar. So even this I am God principle, when we start saying it and thinking about it and contemplating, it takes you deep within. And it's not Sundar who's saying I am God. There is something deeper inside. It's actually the God saying I am God, and therefore he has all rights to say he is God. And so in one sense, it's really not blasphemy. But when you look at it superficially, you'll say, oh my God, how can you be God? There's God up there. Or you are not God at all. Or a devotee will say, no, how can I say that? I am not God. I'm just a humble devotee. He is God. To say that I am a humble devotee, I am not God, is a sign of ego. And this was taught by Krishna to Arjuna. When in the battlefield, Arjuna says, I cannot fight, I am no one, I am just a poor man. You who have done all this, you take over. Krishna, please, I can't do this anymore. And Krishna whips him into shape. The whole first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he lets Arjuna cry and wallow in self-pity and, oh my gosh, poor me, and this and this. And then in the 11th sloka of Gita, in the second chapter, he wakes up Arjuna and he says, wake up, you stupid warrior. Wake up from this. This is unbefitting of a warrior. Wake up. You are the one. And so the whole concept of this is to empower you to know that the one who's actually doing this is the higher cosmic intelligence, is the one that guides me into what I'm doing. And therefore I feel more empowered, more energized, and not walk away with a false sense of pride, but actually with a deeper sense of humility that I am not the doer. It is God who's doing through me. And that is the I am God principle that is working through me. So I hope I make sense, but
no, it does. It's a big help. It's not just Sunder Iyer we're talking about today. It's the Sunder Iyer partnership, and
exactly
your partner isn't here. Maya Iyer, whom we love, was a student at Anantapur. She was married to you by Sai Baba himself.
Yes.
She was set on a course to serve humanity with you by
Yes.
Sai Baba himself. And regrettably, she can't be here in California with us today.
Yes.
But she's not a silent partner, is she? She's an active
No,
partner?
she is. Oh my gosh, she's absolutely active partner. I couldn't do anything without her presence, her company, and I think I remember saying this to you and to others. I've always had this fantasy of becoming a monk, a yogi in the Himalayas, but after marrying Maya and getting a soulmate like her, it's only energized me and helped me become a better human being. That love and that affection that she can give me, I think it's just next to Swami. And so I can't say I'm grateful to her. Maybe I should say I'm grateful to her. I love her. I mean, I have no other words to speak. In fact, I was telling you we're converting a home into a Gurukulam, and that's why she couldn't make it to this retreat, because
is that
she
another
is
word
so.
for an ashram?
Gurukulam is actually a Sanskrit word for school,
School.
a learning school. Where ashram is a place of rest. You go
Okay.
and relax and quote unquote chill, if you will. But a Gurukulam is you come with an objective to learn, to practice something, to discuss, and to widen your horizon of knowledge. And so the traditional Gurukulams are residential schools where you come, you stay with the teacher or stay with the person who's going to share this knowledge with you, and then you live like him, eat with him, live like him, sleep with him, and then take all your questions and doubts and share, and in your conversations you come out a little more wiser, hopefully, and then you go back home and practice it, or you come back again. In those days, young children were sent to Gurukulam, and that was what Swami did when we went, Maya and I. We kind of like this concept because that's what happened to us. Our transformation, our growth was in a residential school in Swami's ashram, staying there in that Gurukulam atmosphere, where all we had time was, apart from our regular education, we also had time to learn spiritual wisdom and time to contemplate on what the purpose of life is and who we are, and deeper aspects and deeper dimensions of mind and chitta, if you will. So when I learned yoga, I've always wanted to teach yoga as a lifestyle, as a spiritual practice, not as a physical exercise alone. Yoga is now practiced as a physical exercise alone. It's good to have it as a physical exercise, but to think that is all yoga is to me injustice to what yoga can actually offer. Yoga, to me, is a journey of discovering who you are. You use your body, you use your mind to go within. That stillness that you achieve in each pose, the experience takes you, draws you inside. And there you truly come face to face with your own God principle, if you will. So yoga is not based on faith or belief. All they say is use your body, use your breath, use your mind, and go within and discover that principle. So that can be learned as a lifestyle. What kind of food I should eat then, how my lifestyle should be, what else can I do? And there are so many aspects to this, because as Swami would teach us, you're not just simply sitting there. You're covered by 5 sheets. You have the Annamaya Kosha, the body sheet. Then you have the Pranamaya Kosha, the pranic sheet that covers you. Then you have the mind sheet, the Manomaya Kosha. Then you have the discriminative sheet, the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And then you have the little subtle bliss sheet, the Anandamaya Kosha that covers you. And within that is the real you sitting there. So how do you cross by all these sheets? So the yoga asanas, the poses that we do, is only catering to the body at this point. But there are practices now that can take you into the pranamaya kosha. You align that all these koshas, you transcend, you learn, you become familiar, and then go within to discover. So yoga has to be learned in a much broader, much more deeper, much more longer practice, as opposed to, can this fix my back, or can I get a 6-pack abs, or can I lose weight? You can lose weight and get 6-pack abs in a much faster and a much better way through other exercises, because I know I do aerobics, I run as well, so I know those are far better to get those kind of benefits. But yoga has a far more reaching, deeper impact on your spirit, on your spirituality, on your awareness. And therefore this Gurukulam concept was blessed by Swami. And
do you think Swami had this on his mind when he was looking at you and Maya, studying, working, performing acts of seva right and left, and obviously he knew your future? Did he impart that to you?
Not directly in as many words as such, but Swami had always prepared me to teach. I know that for sure now, because when he said, I'm going to make you teachers, I'm blessing you, at that point we thought he's making us teachers of the university, and so we were still excited. But even those, just to teach in a university, he gave us wisdom of a different kind. He said, I want you to be role models. I want you to inspire those you teach. I want people to see your life and learn from you. And all that now, when I look back and take my passion of teaching yoga and that, then I realize how all that fits into this, and I almost feel like, oh my gosh, Swami is actually talking about this, not just taking a class in banking or economics in his class, but he actually prepared us, many of us. And for me, I honestly believe that is what he prepared us for. But he didn't in as many words come and say, you're going to start an ashram someday or something like that. No, but then the knowing, like we spoke about in the retreat, there is a knowing deep within that is unshakable for me, that this is what I want to do. I want to share. I'm not going to, though I call it a gurukulam, I'm not the guru. He's going to be the guru running it. I'm just going to be the instrument part, sharing the wisdom that I learned at his feet, passing. So the gurukulam should not be mistaken. Oh, so you're becoming a guru now. No, I'm not going to be the guru.
And this will be in Greater Cleveland, Ohio, our hometown, where we first met you. Or is it? Am I wrong?
No, that's where we met. Yes. That's where we met in Cleveland many years ago, 2003, if I'm right. The home is a small step, and it perhaps will be the only step, and it doesn't matter at this point. We have 3 small bedrooms, so we're going to open it up to guests. And Maya's work, that's why she's so caught up, because we're doing a lot of things to make it, because in one sense it's scary, you're opening up your home to strangers. We have never done that before, number one. Number two, I told Maya there is now 0 private space for us. I mean, our private space is now not only a home, it's come down to our bedroom, because we've got a door now. Hopefully we'll lock it and say no entry or something. I'm kidding, but that's the point. The point is, Swami wants me to live in a glass house, so people will know, okay, if this is a role model, then okay, what does he eat, what does he do, how do you become a success, how do you practice spirituality? The young adults, for youngsters who want to take to spirituality, they need that. They need hardcore proof. They're not no more interested in people who give good talks and speeches. They look at you, I wonder what he does at home. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. I thought about Swami the same way. I wonder what he does upstairs. Mm-hmm. And that's what my faith in Swami and his entire mission and his teachings came to me when I watched him in his close quarters. And so I value the purpose of, come stay with me, live like me. Let's laugh together, eat together, and take walks together. Let's do yoga together. And then you share your doubts and your fears, and I can, whatever I know, I can share it with you. And hopefully we'll be able to help people, even though a little bit at a time, but at least go in depth.
This leads me to maybe a final question about those very young people you're just referring to. Many of them share with me, and I see as a journalist, a sadder and sadder outlook, not just for their country, but for the world. But say something to that, because young people today are very sharp, sometimes shrewd, often cynical. Yeah. Not sure who to trust, even speakers at Sai retreats.
Yes, absolutely. The problem, Ted, and as we talked about in the retreat as well, the problem today is identity crisis. We are so bombarded with, my friend likes something, so I'm supposed to like it, otherwise I might be a misfit. And therefore I like it, simply to fit into my peer pressure, and my friend's circle, my social circle. And then I go to work, and then everybody at work is doing something, so in order to fit in, I compromise on my beliefs or my value system just to fit in. And in a short time, a child grows in school under some pressure. He borrows some ideas just to appear that he's also like everybody else. He goes into a youngster becomes a young man, or by the time they're in midlife, there's a crisis, because who am I then? What do I like really? What is my purpose in life? What is my calling? I didn't have time to look at it. And today with this social media pressure, and everybody has to look good on Facebook, nobody takes a picture out of their bed and put it there. Everybody is happy, everybody is having great vacations, everybody projects an image out there, but that is not who they are really. And so it leads to a sense of disillusionment when we say spirituality is there and God within you will answer. They'll say, yeah, right, I know, but I'm having problems now here. I'm having depression. I'm going through some kind of a relationship issue or a career issue. I'm going through this confusion. Where was God going to help me? So where do they go? Where do they look up to? Whom do they look up to? Even in the yoga world, for that matter, it's very difficult, because it's become an exercise. I meet scholars from India who are amazing Sanskrit scholars, but they don't practice yoga. And so when they talk about Yoga Sutras, but they have a big belly and they're going to burp in the middle of their talk. For me, I'm like, okay, you're a good scholar, but you probably don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so people want role models in every aspect.
It's like a matter of how much grounding do people feel today. I'm not sure how much you're aware of it, but psychologists are now talking increasingly about a new syndrome that I never heard before this year, called on a sunny day, on a given Saturday, and you're 17 years old and you're home. The problem is, the crisis is, what am I missing? What am I missing out on?
Absolutely. I think that's why I said it's a huge identity crisis that every individual is facing today. They don't know how to handle their life. And then actually they become social misfits because they're projecting something to everybody and they're forced to live to that projection, and they're forcing themselves to be something that they may not want to be. And you know, when I say I want to be a role model, it's not like I'm perfect, but at least they see somebody working. It's very hard work to be a yoga teacher, and when you're 57, 58 years old, and because we have to watch what we eat, because Swami said you have to be, your life has to be a message. And that's why jokingly, I don't know if I shared this with you before, but I was saying Swami was very jokingly sharing with Karnyananda next to him, and he asked me, where, you know, the days when he was asking us what we want to teach and all that. He said, what do you want to teach? I said, I want to teach yoga, Swami. You want to teach yoga? You want to be a guru? I just kind of sheepishly nodded, I think, because I didn't know what to say, yes or no. And then Swami started laughing. He looked at Karnyananda. He says, look at this fellow wants to be a guru. And then he laughed and he said, you know what, when you're 50 years old, very, very, as a matter of conversation, you know, like you say, yeah, when you're doing this, then you see, you know, like kind of putting it off. But with Swami, nothing is very, there's no such thing as a slight conversation. So he said, oh, when you're 50 years old, like as if, like I was, you know, 21, 22, when you're 50 years old and you're still practicing yoga, that time you begin to teach. Then people will listen to you. Because what he meant was, when you're practicing at that point, then you will reflect, your teachings will reflect, your lifestyle will reflect what you're talking about. If I say yoga keeps you young, yoga keeps you free from disease, and this and that, then you become an example of what you're talking. And so at that point, I was like, 50 years, yeah, this is never going to happen then. But then when Swami passed away in 2011, that was my 50th year. And that call, that dream, I didn't put two and two together, but now I realize that the timing was perfect. And he said, and so that's why I said there's a knowing that I know this is the path for me. And no matter what, I'm going to continue sharing whatever little spirituality has blessed my life, Maya's life. And we want to share that. And we want to give back the love that Swami blessed us with. An iota of that immense love he showered us.
Well, good luck with your adventure. God bless you. It's quite a calling. You're a born teacher, and you're going to continue to teach.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see you and talk about Swami.
Sai
Ram.
Na mrityur na shanka na me jati vedah pita naiva me naiva matascha janma. I am not the petty mind, I am not the proud intellect, neither the mighty ego nor the minute thought am I. Touch and hearing, taste and seeing, I am not these sensual feelings. I am truth, consciousness, divine bliss. I am the Shiva am I. I am the Shiva am I. I am the Shiva am I. Tanna sarva prachodayad sai, tanna sarva prachodayad shivoham, shivoham, shivoham. I am God. I am God. I am not different from God. I am the indivisible, absolute, supreme. I am truth, consciousness, bliss. Grief and anxiety can never affect me. I am ever content. Fear cannot enter me.